Good afternoon from Yummy B TV. Wishing you all well, sending plenty of love your way as usual. Down by the Docklands, having some dinner with the great Kirsty Moore. Now, we've had an explosive podcast today. A couple of mistakes that could have legal complications, so I'm going to let her try and bleep those out. But you lot are going to love this podcast. There was bombs being let off. Don't know what's happened to me lately, but it just all seems to be flying naturally. But you know, on the sadder, darker side of human nature and life, and these things always seem to be coming up. And once again, we hear today that LUCYLETBY has been found guilty at Manchester Crown Court of the murder, 7 attempted murders of little babies, be it born or been in hospital for quite some time. Now, the crimes are absolutely horrific, and you know, they, as usual, talk about, don't worry, we're changing the way the system's going to be run in these hospitals and it won't happen again, and blah, 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 blah. She will be probably the first woman for a long time or in history that gets a whole life tariff. Now, she was working from 2012 at other places, so undoubtedly there's more victims. So we have to say that it's quite possible that she's on the Harold Shipman comparison. In reality, in her 20s, her mum started crying when she got found guilty. It can't be, this is not right, and blah, blah, because she can't obviously believe that her daughter's done it. Now, let's look at some cold, hard facts without going into too much graphic detail that is going to make a lot of you feel sick, because I nearly bawled my eyes out crying. Now, the case itself involves injecting little babies with insulin, stuffing things down their throat, manipulating the other nurses, real control and power thing with her, winning over the parents. Even one occasion she says, oh, let me take care of her or him, I'll put her in there, have you finished with her now, let me deal with it. Brazen in what she was doing, and warnings as well. There were warning signs from long time ago, and this has gone on for a long period of time. One of the longest trials in criminal history, 10 months or something, 100 hours deliberation or so from the jury, found guilty. Now the police are looking at more things from the past, which there undoubtedly is. Myra Hindley, Rosemary West, Shipman, as we spoke about, Beverly Atlitt. You know, in some ways this case is probably worse than all of them, and being it a young lady that seemed altogether seemed to have been able to manipulate every single person that she came into contact with. So she must have been pretty nifty with the psychopathic skills, very brazen in the moves that she did, and probably the worstest case of its kind if you think back to the cases and people that I've just mentioned there. Astounding. And they're saying that we're going to change things and all that. You told us all that after every other single case that happened. We've got no faith in you. And the reality is that Uncle Yummy says there's nothing that you can really do, because you've got to employ somebody. They've got to be of a caring nature. You could keep watchful eyes. You could implement people into these places just to spy on people, to catch them out. But that's not really feasible 24 hours a day. Either way, you change methods and security ways of people getting these jobs a long time ago, and still they slip through and be able to complete their evil deeds in full view of everybody. Golden Bennett, she will get a whole life tariff on Monday, undoubtedly. What we learn by it is that there are always going to be failings and weaknesses in all our institutional settings, basically. It's not that it's got lesser certain crimes. There's always going to be somebody that makes somebody else much worse as time goes on, when it was meant to be that there was more prevention and solutions to making sure that it doesn't happen in the way that, but there's no real way of, with human behaviour and human nature of the psychopathic, where you have to employ people in caring jobs. So there will always be a way. There'll always be that little bit. When I was a crook and I was a criminal, some of us that was, we always found a moment where we could do our skullduggery, and that. It's not much different to doing it in a complete different way to the way that we did it, but you still are conniving enough to find little holes during moments of the day to get your wicked ways and get them things satisfied inside yourself. What is wrong with her? Well, the psychologist and psychiatrists are going to try and work it all out. But all in all, she looked like just a normal Joe Bloggs who was doing her job, but the alarm bells were ringing and the parents were in court crying their eyes out. And many are saying that justice hasn't been served. A whole life tariff doesn't bring back anything. You know, some families, especially with little babies, it might be their only chance to be able to have babies and have a little kid again to take into this world. And these babies didn't even get a chance to live and to die at the hands of such evilness and darkness. You know, we've got to be really perfectly honest. We have to talk again about cases like this getting the death penalty. I'm afraid, and you know, many of us are going to agree with Uncle Hammy once again, it just beholds absolute disbelief. But yeah, well, hopefully the podcast with Kirsty Moore will be up tomorrow. But trust me, don't miss this one. We was really on top form, and it was a great watch for an hour. It just freedom flowed, and the answers were absolutely clinical and absolutely show you again the holes in our justice system and what they get away with and the way things are covered up and all that. But on a sadder note, yes, she will get a whole life tariff on Monday. But on my way back to somewhere else now, and I love you all very dearly. Have a wonderful weekend.